Technology is nuts.
It really is, and
And
it's only getting better. This AI stuff
I was
is
gonna tell you, man, technology, inside of the new EVs and stuff, like, have you seen some of the Chinese manufacturers' EV cars? Like,
yeah, those things are crazy.
it's when you see what some of those cars can do, you understand why the US bans them from being over here because Tesla would collapse.
Right.
Like, they're
Yeah, we can't hold a candle.
I think with the Tesla, like, me personally, I'm not too big of a fan. I think they have good technology. I think the cars themselves have great technology. I don't like the builds of the car.
Right, yeah, I heard the build quality is crap.
Yeah, so I'm not really a big fan of those cars. But some of the Chinese companies, their EVs are amazing. They do some crazy stuff. They have this sound. It's like this sonic technology where you hit this button, and you can no longer hear what's going on in the back seat. There's no wall or nothing that comes up, but it uses sound to mute
Yeah, to
anything.
cancel out the noise in the
It's
back,
really
yeah,
it's really a trip, but
yeah.
there's some dope cars, man. But I did see that there's a new manufacturer. And I think you mentioned it as well, right? The new manufacturer in the U.S. of EVs that are now available.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's the first black owned electric car company. Don't know if you heard about that. The name of the car is the Avani.
I did see a clip. I did see a clip of that.
So and that one looked like it had some really cool touches on it as well.
Right.
I thought the interior looked really nice.
Yeah, it was clean. I didn't hear a price point or anything on it, though,
No, I
but
price point and availability. It says it's available. Like it says you can order the car. I don't know what there's if
starting
there's a
point.
waiting. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
a waiting list or if they have them readily available. I don't know the details yet. But from the video that I was seeing, the interior looks really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the car itself looks pretty nice. I'm not gonna say it's too fancy or too unique. It looks like a car. But it's a startup, right? That doesn't mean that style can't change as they grow.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think it's good. I think we need more of that. Not just in America, from having say importing those Chinese cars, which would be great. I think it gives options. I think the world needs to stop with the trade blocks and then just share amongst the world so we can be a great world.
Yeah.
But in that aside, U.S. grown car makers, especially now that it's steering away, not steering away, but adding to the combustion engine by having EVs out there, you're going to see more startups because now it's more of a device in a
Right.
sense as opposed to a car.
Right.
So
It's impressive. It's impressive to see a black EV manufacturer. Because I mean, we don't surprisingly after all these years, like there is no real like minority car manufacturer.
right,
So it's kind of surprising to see
yeah,
that
it's called Derek Automotive.
Derek Automotive, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think is
yeah.
what it's called. So,
So shout out. I mean, I think it's dope. I think it's great not only for the fact that it is n- like you just said. It's not like your Ford, your all the automakers who are predominantly
white
it's a white.
or South African.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's white. Uh, uh, that's fantastic in itself because it needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
I want to see because it's half of those cars were, even though there's a name on it or there's a name tied to it, like the South African car company Tesla.
Yeah.
It wasn't invented by that person.
Right.
These were built by other people,
Right.
and it was purchased. Like that particular car company was purchased
Yeah.
when it was pretty much ready to launch anyways, or just slightly after it launched. But this one was ground up, and I think it's dope. And I think that there's a lot of people out there with the capability of creating,
Yeah.
and it should happen. The more competition, the better. I think
I agree. That's the whole purpose of the free market.
yeah.
Should be anyway. That's why they try to do these antitrust laws and everything like that.
And like I said, the car itself, the Avani, the interior looked amazing. I thought it looked really good. For an independent company, looked well built.
Yeah.
So
I'm here for it. I'm happy to see it. I hope they can get their name in the conversation cuz right now it's basically and electric Honda's been doing electric cars since the late 90s because they had that Insight, I believe it was called. Looked like
yeah, it
a
was like an
little
electric
looked
hybrid
like a
type
little
joint.
wind-up toy or
That was the
whatever.
one with the fender
Yeah, it
skirts.
had the skirts on it,
We
yeah.
used to call it skirts with wheels.
Looked like a teardrop.
I man, I that car That car was ugly.
It was,
That
but,
was one of the
for
worst cars
them
ever.
to be doing electric cars back then,
Right.
for all the hybrids to come out, as it is right now when it comes to EVs, you're either thinking Tesla or you're thinking Rivian. I feel like those are the big 2 names, so
Well, from what I've seen in some of the statistics is that Ford actually with the launch of the Mach-E and the Lightning, Mach-E more so though, they're actually a huge share of the market right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, police departments have actually started purchasing Mach-E's. So
That's cool.
but yeah, I mean, I wanna see more because what's gonna end up happening with all that competition is it balances price points too.
Right, right.
So having more independent companies such as Derek Automotive come out with new vehicles, it's just and that's what China's doing, right? China has there's like I don't even know how many EV dealers there are now, but there's a lot.
Yeah,
So and like I said, this is changing over from the idea of a combustion engine to electric, which is essentially a device like your cell phone, right? It's a device.
yeah,
It's now an electronic device, which is why Sony started making their car. And other electronic companies are kind of looking at that as well. Apple, obviously, there's been the rumor of the Apple car for a long time now. I've heard that's being squashed as of late that they're stopping their project or whatever. But nonetheless, it's since it's considered more of a device that rather than a traditional car, you're going to see more pop ups,
yeah.
I'm here for it. I mean,
Makes sense.
it's pretty dope. I hope that Derek Automotive with the Savani car and whatever else they come out with, I hope they do what Rivian and what Lucid and a bunch of other more independent EV makers did, which was kind of do a tour where they go to different major cities and they set up a spot where you can sign up like on some site to grab a ticket and you're able to go test drive
Yeah,
like
that'll be cool.
set up test drive show have a few other cars out there that people can walk through and look at,
Yeah,
but then have one or two of them on a small track or something in a parking lot where you can do a test drive
I used to love going to those.
because it gets people more engaged, it gets people more in touch, and
Yeah,
it does nothing but positive for your
expands your
so
audience. Yeah,
I would definitely sign up to test drive because I mean, like I said, I saw the video, it looked like a pretty cool car. Test it out. I mean, I did that with Lucid. I think the Lucids are amazing cars. I think they're doing I when I look at the Lucid now at this point, I look at it as more of a luxury EV,
mhm,
because they have that very luxurious vibe to the interior, to
yeah,
the car itself. They're sleek. I mean, they're so I think when you look at EVs, there's a lot of EVs out there. I think they're can in my book, I look at them as the more
the luxurious
luxurious
arm
EV.
of
Yeah.
EVs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
So
high-end brand.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely. I mean, I look at the Teslas as like, the Hyundais and the Hondas, the Toyotas of the EV world,
yeah,
along with you have the Toyotas and the Hyundais and the Kias. I think they're all in the same class. I think they do have upper models. I mean, there's probably, something coming and I know like say Cadillac, right? Cadillac has the EV Escalade, they have the Lyric that are considered on the luxury end, right?
yeah,
And that's kind of where I place Lucid at this point. Like since they're only an EV maker, I feel like there's not very many EV makers. There's Lucid, there's Tesla, there's Rivian, and there's a few others, right? Fisker collapsed, of course, we know that. But even if you were to include Fisker, I think out of those, Rivian is your sporty. You can definitely use it to haul truck.
yeah.
I feel like it's that you have your Teslas that are your everyday, and I feel like you have your Lucids, which are your luxury. I mean, my opinion.
No, I don't disagree.
So,
I feel like that's right on par
but
with.
shout out to Derek Automotive. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully they do a tour. I want to go test drive.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Maybe they'll have a display at the auto show.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope.
I'm not big into electric cars yet. They haven't really sparked my fancy.
I like the idea of it. I'm okay with it. I do think that there's still work to be done. I think we need, you know,
The infrastructure is not quite there yet.
infrastructure is huge, and I'd like to see 600 plus mile ranges.
Mhm.
I think we need once we get to 600 plus mile range vehicles, I think it's you're settling in now. I think at that point, and even infrastructure, right? I think um corporate or not corporate, commercial buildings. Think of all the commercial space across the nation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your Walmarts, your Targets, your shopping malls, all that places, right? Those property owners, if you want to talk about incentives or tax breaks or whatever, those property owners give them a slight tax break in order to use their roof space to install solar and then require them in order to get the tax break. Not only can you use the roof, but it require them to have a set amount of charging stations in their parking lots.
Yeah.
So right now, by law, based on the size of your parking lot, you have to have a certain amount of handicap spots. Right?
Right.
There's a ratio. I don't know what that ratio
1 to
is.
25.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. For every
So
25 spots, 1 handicap
one
space.
handicap. Okay, so there you go. So do the same thing, not the same ratio, but do the same thing for EV. You have for every X amount of spots, you have to have a charger station. And in order to park in those charger stations, you have to have
An
an
EV.
EV.
Right.
So, and I think that that's your start with your infrastructure because now you're using essentially free energy, right? You're using the
Yeah.
sun. You might have some of those places may have battery backups, to store, but nonetheless, you're using solar to plug in. Now, do you charge for those? I don't think so. I think when you pull up at a Target or you pull up at a mall or you pull up at some of those places and you pull into one of those spots, you're charging from the sun, so you're charging. It's not going to be a fast charger
Right.
because it's just regular. But nonetheless, you're that's your incentive. You're offering your rooftop and these EV parking spots as incentives to get a tax break. In turn, you're boosting your customer base because they're getting to charge for free.
For free. Right.
So I think it's a full churn, and I think that works. Now you take that same ideology for industrial buildings, right? Solar panels on top of all these industrial buildings in all these industrial areas, right? And now that energy is stored because you're not sure you can put a couple charging stations for employees, right? But
Yeah.
essentially that's stored energy. Then that energy is stored and used for other ways of charging EVs or even
Or
just powering
whatever.
the
Yeah.
grid, powering
Yeah.
the grid
Put
in
it back
general,
into the
right?
grid. Yeah.
So and I think that's how you build up your structure. Right now, there's a lot of ways of that they have been building out, but the problem is a lot of those charging stations are powered by diesel
Diesel
generators.
powered. Yeah.
And so you're kind of being a little bit counterproductive. So,
Defeats the whole purpose.
but solar is solar, right? So all you need to do is just up the manufacturing of solar panels and solar cell technology and
Yeah.
put it on top of as many buildings as you can put on.
That's a whole industry that could be US based, solar
I
panels.
know they have solar farms, right? You see them driving to Vegas. There's solar farms out in the desert. And they have all these solar panels, and I don't know if you've seen it, but they have like this large
The reflect
mirror, and it
yeah.
reflects that energy down. So
Yeah.
it's and those are fine, right? That's great. But you have a lot of
Space.
populated space that can also do the same thing. You don't need to necessarily have the reflection, but you can just put the panels on all
Just
these
to collect the
rooftops.
sun, yeah, rooftops, parking lots, like you've seen them. A lot of the schools have, the solar panels
Yeah,
providing shade in the parking lots, but also collecting sun and making energy.
yeah, and there could just with that being said, there could be office spaces that maybe they don't have large rooftops, right? But they have parking lots. So you put those shades over the parking spots that have solar panels on top.
Right,
Now that can either be used to charge EVs in your lot or it can be used to store and
right.
you put it to the grid. I feel like that's a big part of the infrastructure needs to happen, but there's a lot of bureaucratic processes in place that have to
Yeah, that make it hard. Unless you
that,
got billions, then, you can
that
just slide right past all that bureaucracy.
yeah, and you can monopolize it so that it makes you rich.
Yeah, but who would wanna do that?
So no more politics. Yeah, but yeah, I'll be interested to see all these new companies coming up that are putting out EVs, man. I'm a tech nut, man, and I look at these EVs as tech gadgets at this point, and
Yeah,
so I'm very into that idea. But on the other on the other page, completely opposite of technology. I saw you got a new pair of shoes.
Can you reach
Can you
that?
reach that?